are back.
We are.
Tell you what we're going to do while we wait for the minister to join us for our discussion this morning. We will take a look back at a story that we did a few years ago, pre-pandemic. I know that my colleague Paul Lopez went down to Machakilha several weeks ago to do an update, so to speak, where the community, which is a far-flung village in southern Belize, they were being electrified by solar power.
Ooh.
That was the update that Paul went down there to do, right? And while there were certain flashbacks of the story that I did several years earlier, what I want to do, just to buy some time, is to go back to that story and share that with our viewers, right? And then perhaps we could do a small little chit chat afterwards.
Sure.
So what we're going to do at this point, we're going to go to that story that we did down in Machakilha a few years ago, just as sort of a flashback. For many of us in urban centers across the country, cost and access to quality education are often taken for granted. With transportation at our disposal and money set aside to cover tuition and other related expenses, the everyday routine of making it to the roll call is an afterthought. For 5 primary school students from the village of Machakilha, the most isolated community in southern Belize, the prospects of higher learning includes the rigors of daily travel to and from this far-flung corner of the Jewel. Today is examination day for Standard 6 students across the country. Their performance in the annual papers, which have seen at least 3 iterations since they were first administered, may determine the high schools that they are eligible to attend in the upcoming academic year. While his peers in Punta Gorda are still sound asleep, 12-year-old Alfonso Putul has been roused from his slumber. It is 3 a.m. and the household is already alive with activity. Waking up extremely early is not so much on account of Alfonso's anxiety. For him and his fellow classmates, this is what they must do to get a head start if they are to arrive on time to sit the PSC.
Well, like this, we have to get up early in the morning and then go bed, then start checking that road. And sometimes when it's Monday, we have to go early, and when we reach, we're tired.
If it rains, we will have mud up until our knees.
So you'll be using that one.
The geographic distance between Machakilha and Dolores, its nearest neighbor, is roughly 6 miles. To get there, residents must traverse a demanding terrain accessible only by foot or horseback. On Thursday evening, I ventured to the remote village ahead of the pre-dawn commute to Corazon Creek Technical High School, where the exams will be sat. The journey to Machakilha is difficult. Even by pony trekking, negotiating this environment is grueling.
The condition of the road during the rainy season is the worst part in our life. From Machakilha to Dolores, when it's really muddy, it took us more than 2 hours walking from that place to the next village, and dry season would only take us an hour and a half. And for us to walk in and out of this community is really challenging for us, especially the kids that are attending high school, and for those who would go and sit PSE in Corazon as well.
Traveling with me to get a first-hand experience of the taxing passage is Christina Koch. She is the spokesperson for the Maya Leaders Alliance.
We're here primarily for the purpose of understanding better and getting an in-depth appreciation of the struggle that rural people from the most remote parts of Toledo have to endure to access basic amenities, right? Whether that be healthcare, education, or even just being able to go to the urban center, being able to go to Punta Gorda.
For the purpose of this piece, we are focusing on access to education and the plight of young students who are forced to make the 4-year sacrifice in pursuit of academic achievement. The road to entering and completing secondary school for the children of Machakilha remains unpaved.
This is my 2nd year in high school, struggling and suffering.
while going to school, because worse when it's rainy season. It's very difficult for us. It's worse when it's really muddy. We have to come out here early in the morning, and so we kindly ask the government to build us a rock road. And sometimes I feel sorry for young females too, as my age. They couldn't afford to go to school. But me, I need my education, so I need to sacrifice myself doing this.
Back at Alfonso's home, an early breakfast is being prepared. Freshly baked tortillas, chicken sausage, and hot coffee ground locally make up his sustenance for the day. The journey ahead will draw everything from him, including the Spartan nourishment he would have had a few hours earlier.
Every time we are tired when we reach, and it's hard to focus on your work when you're tired, but I know that the Ministry of Education find a place for us to stay in Dolores, but I choose not to go because I want you and the government to see what we always go through. But not only during PSE we need help, because later on I'll be going to high school. If the government still not build our road, then we are going to suffer again.
Just before first light, 3 of the 5 students sitting the second half of the primary school examinations set out on foot from Machakilha. They will meet up with other pupils in Dolores, where they will board a passenger bus to Corazon Creek. The road to the primary school examinations 2019 has taken me deep into the wilderness of the Toledo district, where a class of 5 students has made the trek from Machakilha village to Dolores and on to Corazon to sit their PSC Part 2.
How does the water get? The water right there?
Among them is 15-year-old Jahimer Quib. He lost his father at a very young age and has had to relocate to Machakilha with his older sister and her husband.
I was born in San Vicente village. Well, my dad died, and my brother-in-law adopted me, and I come here to study. Because for my mom, it's difficult because she left alone, and then she went to San Miguel, and I stay here.
Do you feel confident at this point that you will do your best and you will perform to the best of your ability and try to pass the exam?
Yes, I will try my very best. I'll try to do good.
There to help them is Arnaldo Putol. Not only is he the second alcalde in the village, he is also a teacher at the multi-grade school.
The children are interested in education. They are willing to take what needs to be taken by them, especially when they have to leave early in the morning. Children are always excited, are always willing to come out and learn and test out their knowledge out there. So, but the hard part is when we have to walk and these children would get a little cut on the foot, and sometimes they would scream and run if they see snakes and scorpions as well. So these are really the dangers that we face here in Machakilha.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano. Alright, so I look back at that story and I'm still in awe, right? A lot has happened since then. They've gotten a rock road, which allows vehicles to go all the way into the community. Again, we ran a story recently where, we provided an update, but so they've gotten a rock road. They're now able to use solar energy to be able to run proper lighting in their homes. So if you look at these kids, they're no longer studying under candlelight. They actually have proper light, electricity, right? And when you look at it from a commercial aspect, if I could use that as a description, the fact that they also now have electricity allows them to be able to do more with business. They're able to, as you see there, refrigerate food items that are perishable and what have you. I think when I look at this story, April, what I love most about it is the experience.
Yeah.
It's completely different from anything that we're used to here in the city, in the urban setting, right? There's no longer a PSE.
Yes.
So that's another part of it. So this was the road to the PSEs for 2019 and the difficulty that these kids had to endure to take the test. Whereas many of our kids in Belize City were sound asleep or when other kids in other urban areas and municipalities across the country don't have that degree of difficulty to get to the examination center.
I mean, I was watching the story with you, and I thought about the way that we live in, not just, I'm going to say that urban areas, the towns, the big towns, the big cities, we have a certain level of privilege that we're able to, you go sleep till 7 o'clock if school starts at 8:30. And, for these kids that have to be up at 3, 4 in the morning to make sure that they have breakfast and not go to school, but walk and then catch a bus and then get to school. I mean, now the experiences are better, right, for them. But I always think about other cases that have had to do this, have had to deal with this, and then it kind of makes you wonder why we're not having more of these conversations. When you're in an urban setting, or you live in a city or a town, or you live in a home that has electricity and running water, you don't think about the majority that does not. And the fact that they're able to have now solar power. This is what I want you to think about. 2022, they have solar power. And they're able to have their rock road. It took us till 2022 to do that. And that is where I think yes, the positivity of it all is wonderful, though I will never, ever, ever take that away. But can you imagine if Belize City just met again electricity at 2022? The level of progress that it has made for us as a urban setting, right, compared to them, that they're just getting that. You have to be able to appreciate the shared distance of this community, right? Being able to hike that distance from, let's say, the main road all the way into Machakilha. Serious walking. I asked you that off camera, like, how was it? How were your boots after? Well, I survived. Again, this is just from a purely journalistic point of view, right? In being able to bring these stories to our viewing public, we have to be prepared to go the distance, no pun intended. Right? You asked me what was perhaps one of the most difficult stories that I've done. And in terms of degree of difficulty getting to the location, traveling, hiking long distances, feeling as if though we're never going to reach. I could recall myself and cameraman Rick Romero. We were on a mission to find a drug plane. That was physical difficulty. That's the story. Having to walk, rain, sun, mud, all of that, physical difficulty. But there's a certain feeling, a certain reward that comes along with being able to tell the story, right? And so I think for me that is invaluable, being able to live the experience and being able to relate that to the public. Well, I'll tell you something, and not to take away from these kids, but I've never had to truck through muddy roads or get from a horse from point A to point B, but I did have to get up very, very early to go to school back when I was younger, and there was no public transportation from point A to Belmopan at that time. So we used to catch orange truck right? You know, a lead panel, and there was only one way in, one way out with that truck. And if that truck was going out at 5 o'clock in the morning and you had to get to school for 8, it doesn't matter. You have to be on that truck at 5 o'clock in the morning, or else you're not getting out. And so being 3 and 4 years old, getting to school in Belmopan and having to get up 4 o'clock in the morning, no kid wants that, you know. So that's why I think maybe that's why I was a little bit more I think it struck somewhere, because that is not the life that you want for your kids. Yes, you have right to education, right? But that already is taking away rights of happiness, rights of the ability to have that ease access to education. So I'm happy that they got their road. I'm really happy that they got their solar power, because now they're able to get on that path of progress where they're able to have more, right? But I now forget that until 2022. I can't. And then you think about other villages that have that problem. I was just in Indian Church Village a couple of months ago, working on some research, and they also don't have electricity. They also only have one road in and one road out of the village. And it was amazing to me that I'm sitting on top of this rooftop watching just pure pitch black after the sun sets, because nobody has electricity in 2022.
Yeah, but you have to, again, look at the entire picture, right? Some of these locations are literally off the grid, right? And so when you look at bringing infrastructure to these locations, it's a significant investment.
It is.
Road access, potable water, electricity, healthcare, education, and all of these other things. That's a serious investment to develop a community.
I 100% agree, and that's why I always think about when you go day to day in your life, you don't think about that, right? We are very you have that one-track mind where you have to get to work, and you experience your own difficulties as a person. There's another pothole in the middle of the street where government and about this, right? And then you see stories like this where, they need a road to get from point A to point B in order to catch a bus to go to school, and that brings new perspective to the conversation. But I'm really hopeful that other places, other remote areas get to have those highlights, and we can see for ourselves that we should be a little bit more grateful for the things that we have.
Certainly.
Right?
All right, so what we're going to do now, April, we're going to go to the Look of the Week, which is another feature brought to you by Phoenix Boutique for people who are into fashion and they're looking for, something that defines their image. Then this is for you.
Welcome to the Phoenix Boutique. So today we'll be presenting our look of the week, where we have our stunning model wearing our white wrap Zara collection dress that we've partnered up with some white wrap sandals as well. Everything that we do here with our looks here at the Phoenix Boutique, we like to add statement pieces, and she has on a nude colored mirrored earrings from our Zara collection as well.